Welcome back, boys and girls. Today I have something that will make Dirty Harry penis pants. That is Smith & Wesson 460 Magnum. Do you feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? Well, don't get me wrong. I grew up watching Dirty Harry, and one of the revolver that I really wanted to buy was Model 29 Smith & Wesson. Instead, I got stuck with this. Back about 5 years ago, I saw this guy shooting his 460 Smith & Wesson at the range, and after every shot, he was howling and screaming like Rampage Jackson at UFC. Well, after his 5 shots, range officer approached him and asked him not to howl so loud. I think it was really funny, but I kind of understand why he was howling so loud, because when you're at the range shooting this thing and when everybody's watching you, and when you pull the trigger, you see that fire come out of the muzzle with the real stout recoil and real loud bang. It kind of makes you feel like the alpha wolf of the pack. Things that I noticed just by watching him shoot his 460 Magnum was that he was shooting a revolver from Magnum Research, and it looked like 7.5 inch barrel, and he had a lot more recoils because he didn't have the muzzle brake on. So when he shot it, his hand was literally up here, but it wasn't so loud as mine, and you could see the fire coming out from the front. But if you see the Smith & Wesson, it's got a muzzle brake opening on the both side and also like ported holes on the top. So when you shoot this thing, you're gonna see a fire coming from both sides, on the top and forward. It truly puts up a show. It looks like something like a real cannon. Honestly, I haven't hunted with this revolver yet because it was just too loud, and I can't even imagine shooting a deer with this without earplugs, and it just seems like too much a gun for a whitetail. And Virginia doesn't have a separate handgun season, so I can't even imagine myself carrying a rifle and carrying this as a sidekick. But last year I bought 5-6 boxes of 145 Long Colt, thinking I'll use that as a deer hunting ammunition. I haven't hunted with it yet. I went to range a couple of times, but I wasn't too happy with the result with 45 Long Colt. I didn't buy this cannon by a choice. My brother Sam, who used to live in Colorado, had this. He paid $1,200 for it, and when he moved to New York, he had to sell all his guns. And he told me he went to the gun shop and they were willing to pay him $500 for it because nobody really wants to shoot 460 Magnum. So he called me up and asked him to help him out, so I paid him $700 for it. And I'm not regretting it because this is one hell of a revolver, and it shoots really well in 460 Magnum. And honestly, it's once a lifetime revolver, it kind of beats everything in the range. As I mentioned before, I don't make a habit of buying anything that's beyond my capability or my needs, but this is one revolver that's beyond everything. Alright, let's go on with the review. Okay, my first impression of this cannon was that it looked overwhelming, but very awesome looking. And when I first held it, it felt like I'm holding on a chunk of metal. And I was a little intimidated by how am I gonna shoot this thing. Okay, this is obviously in stainless steel. And the weight of this revolver is 72.2 ounces. So that's a little bit over 44.5 pounds. And the overall length is 15 inch long. So it's a good size revolver. Now, according to Smith & Wesson, they said the length of the barrel is 8.38 inches. I don't know why that is, but I think I know why, because that's 8.83 inch with a muzzle brake. Now, I actually took the muzzle brake out and measured the length of the barrel, and it's actually 7.5 inch barrel. So it's not really fair to say this is 8.38 inches. It's more fair to say 7.5 inches of barrel and plus the muzzle brake at the end. Now this muzzle brake is fitted beautifully, and it's got ported on the top and the sides. So like I said, when you fire this thing, you're gonna see fire coming from all directions. It's really a some sight to see. And this muzzle brake does a really good job at reducing recoil, but also does hell of a job making the sound really, really loud. So you're gonna have people come and see what you're shooting, But then after a couple of shots, you're gonna see people running away from you because it's just too loud. And this also came with a fixed front sight, which is interchangeable. And this came with a fiber optic, which I really like a lot because it really, I mean, even with my aging eyes, I could see it quite well. Now, I'm not sure if Sam put that separately after he bought it or if they came with it from Smith & Wesson. And on the rear side, it's adjustable. It's nothing fancy, but it does the job quite well. And you could see that right there. Okay, as I mentioned, this is a 5-shooter. And it's empty. Now, as for the trigger, the pulling a hammer is heavier than other Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum. It's definitely heavier. But the trigger is really nice. It feels less than 3 pounds. Now, compared to this Smith & Wesson here, which is also empty, this is 357 Magnum. Now, this is easier to pull. And the trigger is nice, but trust me, this is just a little bit better, surprisingly. Now, double action, this feels like about 7 to 8 pounds. Now, obviously, this is a little heavier in double action. And this also has cylinder release here, and they have, all Smith & Wesson have the little keyhole here. You could stick a key in there and lock the hammer. I never use it. I never even actually tried it once. I not even know where the key is right now. Now, this came with a rubber grip from Smith & Wesson, and it's got the Smith & Wesson logo on it. It feels really good. It feels good as a hog's grip. And the trigger, I like the trigger. It's very wide, it's very smooth, and it does the job really well. Now, one thing that I don't like about this gun is because this is so powerful. If you shoot it like 20 times, I have problem that screw coming loose, so I have to tighten that. And one time, believe it or not, my muzzle brake actually fell out. And that's because this here came loose. And the muzzle brake over here turned sideways and just fell out. So I had to put that back in. And I thought if you screw it clockwise, it would tighten up, but that didn't work. But this actually, you have to screw it counterclockwise to tighten the muzzle brake. So now shooting this, you have to kind of know what kind of falls apart, but you could all retighten them back together. And somebody told me I should try Loctite, but I don't like to use Loctite on the gun itself. So for now, I'm gonna shoot it like after every 20 rounds. I just make sure everything's nice and tight. Okay, let's hit the range and see what you can do. Boom. With my aging eye, I don't shoot too well with open sights. So I actually use a paper plate and put a dot in the middle. I read it somewhere, this does help. Okay, first shot with 45 Long Colt. This is gonna feel like 22 in this massive gun. Let's see. Shooting a 45 Long Colt on this massive revolver with a muzzle brake on feels like shooting 22. Here's the second shot. Here's the third shot. After 3 shots, the barrel is not even warm with this massive gun. I shoot 460 Smith & Wesson Magnum. This is gonna get loud and ugly. Here we go. Woo!
Oh yeah, big difference. Big difference.
Crazy. Here we go again. Whoa!
Oh my goodness.
I'm shooting a little low. I can see that.
I'm gonna record that
This is crazy.
one more time.
All right, here we go. Wow! 60 Smith & Wesson Magnum.
Wow.
It's like on fire with it.
Yeah,
I know.
Just the cannon.
Alright, here goes one more shot. I'm not even hitting the plate. I think I hit the plate once.
The one you hit low.
Yeah, I'm hitting
Six.
low, that's for sure.
네, 스미스 웨슨의 460 매그넘
460 Smith & Wesson Magnum.
뭐 대포입니다 소리가.
I'm hitting everything at 6 o'clock. I mean, the
Yeah,
group.
you're like right on that black line too.
Yeah, I mean, the group is decent. It's got
Yeah,
a
you-
decent group. It's just shooting low.
Well, it's with that bullet though. So the other
Yeah.
bullets, you're kind of up high.
Yeah.
So if you adjust for that one, I would have thought it would have been higher.
I heard that. Like always, at the range when I'm shooting this thing, people come to me to see what I'm shooting. But after a couple of shots, like always, they move away as far as they can from you. What's funny is that because of velocity, 460 is shooting a lot lower than 45 Long Colt. This is 25 yards, and there was a Colt 45. That's 45 Long Colt, and this is 460 Smith & Wesson. You could see the grouping is decent. It's just shooting low right now. I just have to make adjustments. I have made some adjustment. Let's see what happens now.
여기까지 튄다. 대단하다 이거.
Sorry.
매그넘을 흡수하고 있습니다.
I have a fire extinguisher in case you start the place on fire.
Thanks.
신기하니까 구경을 하고 있습니다. 쏘는 거 한번 보겠습니다.
Here we go.
That's a cannon.
Oh, it's bullseye.
Bullseye. Congratulations.
Here we go again.
Oh, I should have. Yeah, that'd be. Back in it. Way low.
You went up with this, but I have quarter-inch group piece right now. Okay, after making adjustment, my two shots are touching each other right at the bullseye. So this is a third shot. Let's see what happens. Here he goes. I pulled that one, but okay, it's only fair to give her another chance since I pulled the last shot. Okay, so here we go again. After 10 shots, this doesn't really get too fun to shoot anymore. It's much better. Right now, I probably have less than about half-inch group at 25 yards with 460 Smith & Wesson. So that's a nice. Okay, I haven't cleaned my gun yet. I just got home. Anyway, my son used to love to shoot this before he went to college, and he was hitting clay pigeon at 100 yards with open sight. And after he was gone, I haven't shot it for about 3 years. And just last year, I bought that 45 Long Colt because I was thinking of hunting with it. And I sighted in. And as you've seen it today, I shot that first, and the grouping wasn't that impressive. It was about 4 or 5 inches apart. And when I shot it with 460, it was shooting way low. It was shooting about, I would say about 6-inch low. But the grouping was pretty decent. So today, after that, I readjust my sight, the rear sight, and this is the second group. That's the first shot of the second group. So I made adjustment, and that was the second and the third shot. And then I put it a little, so that's the fourth shot. So I decided to give it another chance, and it hit it there. And if you measure it from center to center, it's just a little bit shy of 1 inch. So open sight, 25 yards, less than 1 inch. That's very decent. Now, only problem is, I realized this gun is not made for 45 Long Colt. I thought I would do better with it, but apparently that's not true. This gun really shoots 460 Magnum much better than 45 Long Colt. So if I'm gonna hunt with it, I'm gonna have to hunt with 460 Magnum. I just have to make sure that I have my ear protection on and hold on tight. Okay, this is what I shot today. First is by Hornady 460 Smith & Wesson Magnum. It's 200 grain FTX, and the speed at the muzzle is 2,200 feet per second. And next to that is by Hornady 45 Long Colt, 220 grain FTX, and the speed at the muzzle is 950 feet per second. I don't know if you could read it or not, but that's what it is. And if you look at it, it is actually almost twice as longer, but the speed-wise, the Magnum is fast, more than twice as faster than a Long Colt. And lastly, like always, thank God for what you have. Enjoy your life with what you got, but mostly stay safe. See you.